Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile where we're looking, if you haven't already guessed, at the Aston Martin Vantage V12 GT3. Bit of a mouthful, but what a legendary car we have here. This has a 5.9 litre V12 engined, front-engined, rear-wheel drive, and this car, obviously, we do know it from its power, although that seems to have changed in Gran Turismo 7, and we'll look at that a little bit more when we get into this car profile. Six gears in this car. A couple of keynotes for you here. 2 liveries in the game. One was a Nürburgring 24-hour livery. The other was from its predecessor, the DBR9. Very successful car in terms of how its accomplishments, essentially. Winning lots of races around the world. Very successful car. And it has been replaced with the newer Vantage V8 GT3 car. Has an absolutely insane sound in real life. One of the cars I have heard in real life. Absolutely sounds fantastic. Current BOP is 514 horsepower and 1,324 kilograms. And if you do like these car profiles, do subscribe to the channel to get them every single week. Let's get straight into this car profile then with the low speed BOP test as we go to Laguna Seca for this. If you're new to the car profiles, let me explain what we do here. There is a slow, medium and high speed BOP in Gran Turismo 7. So we pick one track from each of those categories and we test out a car, doing 10 laps plus the outlap, of course, as well. And we compare it to the fastest car that we've done there, which at the moment is the Porsche 911 RSR here at Laguna Seca. That changes on a per track basis. At the end of this, we then look at the optimum times because it's much easier to get the best optimum time, and that gives us an idea where the car actually fits. And then we put it on the leaderboard and see where it places. Does it need a BOP change, or is it up there? Is it one of the best cars at that circuit? And in terms of the BOP, we will see and find out. Going through that kink, the Aston Martin Vantage V12, absolutely love that kink actually, as we go to the corkscrew, and this is where it does really well. It was so stable through here. A little bit on exit, sometimes it struggled, but it would grip very, very quickly as we go down here. We're 3/10 off the Porsche at the moment as we go through this left-hander. Did suffer a little bit of understeer here as we go into this right-hander. Again, mid-speed corners, it does seem to understeer a little bit as we head towards the final corner. Now, as we come out of this corner, do expect some power oversteer in this car, which is why I short shift, and that does solve the problem. So it does spin its wheels at the high RPM. It does have a V12 engine, of course. And as we head towards this line, then what we're going to finish on, 3.5 tenths down on that Porsche 911. So not getting the fastest lap. However, as I say, we look at optimums in terms of where this car actually fits in the leaderboard, because the Optimum is the theoretical best lap it can do at the moment. Let's have a look at that leaderboard then, and it says P3, so very, very strong car here, looking like a handling car then, and that's what we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Or maybe we'll start now actually. It's a handling car. That's what it is. It's not a power car anymore, which is really bizarre because in Gran Turismo Sport, it was very much a power car. That's the car you would go to if you want straight line speed. Seems to have been changed, roles reversed, which is very bizarre, but we're going to have a look at that a little bit later on when we get to the high speed BOP test. However, that is it for the low speed. It's now time to jump to the medium speed as we go to Suzuka for the medium speed test. So the first sector, of course, all about handling here, and we'll see how it does. But it's all medium speed corners, and that's what I'm going to focus on here in terms of its handling and explain a bit more for you. So we're in third gear at the moment. You can't really go to second gear very easily because of where it is in the rev band, and of course then you may suffer some power oversteer. So third gear was the best way to do the S's, I found. And as we go to this right-hander, okay, we do drop to second there just to get it rotated a little bit. It's a bit of a slower corner. And we are 1.5 tenths down on that Toyota Supra. There's definitely more in it, I would say, if you could actually go to second there. So if it had a sort of banding change in terms of gears, it'd be great. With Tidgney 1, of course, we look at the curb there. Absolutely fine over the curb through here. Really being front-engined, rear-wheel drive, the weight of the front of the car just drops it down very, very quickly. However, I do think there's more to this as we are now 2.5 tenths down on that Toyota Supra. With this car, as we're going to potentially see some power oversteer here, you see, I've got to be careful there, straight line the car very quickly. Not too bad on exit this time at the hairpin. But with this car, I think it's got quite a lot of front downforce, so at least it feels like it, or a lot of weight over a specific point of the car, where the front just sticks down. And I think that's why it helps the handling so much in this car, because literally, the front's not lifting up as much, there's more weight over the tyres, so when it accelerates, it's absolutely fine and doesn't lift the front end and cause understeer. And it's great. So obviously at medium speeds, that's when it starts to differentiate essentially, and that's where it does start to understeer a teeny tiny bit, but the rear likes to rotate itself very nicely. We're down here then, 3.5 tenths, nearly 4 tenths down on the Toyota Supra, and a very good 130R actually. It did do it very well there, 147 miles an hour. Definitely not one of the slow ones through there, especially its compatriot there, the DBR9 GT1 car that we've got in the game. That really does struggle at 130R and struggled in general, as we are aware. Gonna head towards the line then. We're looking for 1:59.0. We are now 5 tenths down, and it is that top speed, in my opinion, though it really does struggle. But again, we look at Optimums, so let's have a look where it fits on the Optimum leaderboard, shall we? As we load that up right now. Where does it sit? So it's dropped down to P9, and I will say, I'm going to say it's that straight line speed. It just struggles so much. You see there, it is in the middle of the pack. 0.3 seems to be the standard there. Lots of cars in that 0.3 area. So it's not doing too bad with the other Aston Martin down in P15, i.e. P last at the moment in terms of this car profile test, the BOP test, as we like to call it. So Suzuka is done. We definitely saw some understeer mid-speed there, potentially because it wasn't high up in the RPMs on those S's, so it doesn't spin its wheels and rotate a bit more. Could be the case, but let's head to Bathurst for the high-speed test then. As we go into this left-hander then, this corner very tricky in this car because it's top end of second, bottom end of third. You want to be in second really and use all the revs in this car as we head towards the first sector. So I've already referenced it. It is not a fast car in a straight line. It really isn't anymore, which is weird to say when it's got a V12 in it. And as you see there, nearly a 0.2 there in sector 1. 1 tenth down on the BMW M6, which also isn't a super fast car in a straight line. It's just very good at handling and nailed the first corner on that sector. Very good on that right-hander. Very good on that right-hander. It just turned in and went. It was amazing through there. Coming into here, though, it did understeer a little bit, but then on exit, you do get a bit of power oversteer, but we managed it very nicely indeed. And going up this hill now, or mountain, should I say, going through here, you didn't really have to lift sometimes. You could do it flat. I had to lift here on the fastest lap because I was going to go into the barrier. Going through here as well, the car is so bounced through here. And going over this crest here, it just settles itself very nicely, and you can accelerate through so nicely. It really is so good. And going down the hill now, this is where it was the best, one of the best I've ever experienced through here. Look at the speed we're carrying here. Going through the dipper there, absolutely fine. I did suffer a little bit of oversteer occasionally, but it's catchable oversteer as we go down into this left-hander. I think we're 4 tenths down there on the BMW M6. As we go through this left-hander, then belt it out of there, and this is where we're going to start to see the car struggle. Okay, we're looking for 170 plus here for a car to be at sort of the top end of the speeds at the end of the chase. Let's see what happens then as we go towards this sector. We were 4 tenths down, drops to 3 tenths, and that's because it's so good on the mountain going down. It really is a very good car there. And as we go into this braking zone, we're braking late because we don't get anywhere near 170 there. So we can brake much later because the car's not going as quick, which is great, but also bad because it does mean that if you're facing a Toyota Supra, for example, you may struggle to defend there. As we go in towards the last corner then, again, we've got to be careful being in second gear. It does suffer from that power oversteer in second gear. We're going to accelerate towards the line. That was very nice exit, I would say there. And we're 6 tenths down now on that BMW M6. So we did lose out, unfortunately. Not the fastest at any of the tracks so far in terms of that fastest lap. However, as I've repeatedly said, we are going to look at Optimums here, and it's P7 in the end, which isn't too bad. It was just so good on the mountain. I think that brought it up a little bit there. It really was so good, but you can see where it lacks in top-end speed, and that's why it's not even further up that grid there. In terms of the Aston Martin DBR9 GT1 car, that's down in P14, so you can see out the two cars, if you do choose Aston Martin as manufacturer, yeah, pick the Vantage for most of the races. The exception is fuel races, I suspect, because we know how good that Aston Martin DBR9 is. But we will see where this Vantage sits in terms of saving fuel shortly. And we go to that fuel test right now then. So what we've got is top left, maximum RPM, top right, quarter shift, and down at the bottom, a quarter shift plus fuel map, because we all know fuel map is the worst way to save fuel. Now, I get a few questions about this with a maximum RPM. Why do I do maximum RPM rather than Optimum? Because Optimum is very hard to nail in each and every car. So the whole idea here is that most people will use the bar to change gear when it starts flashing. So that's what we do, okay? And then we're sort of measuring the fuel, but also performance at the same time. It's a combo. And we get to the line first on the top left. So you do rev this car out. You can see that. And that's quite clear here. It's 58% there with a 25.4. So on the right-hand side, the quarter shift is getting the closest next. So that's what we're going to do. And you can see there, 4 tenths later, the quarter shift comes across 65%, so it does save 7% fuel with that quarter shift. What we've then got is a fuel map, and I'd say it's the worst way to save fuel, but it is there for the extreme cases, or if you do race on automatic where you don't shift. And we can see there that crosses the line on 72%, but considerably down on the time there, down at the 26.6 essentially there. That's a big time loss, what, 1.2 seconds nearly in terms of time loss. That's a big performance hit to try and save that extra fuel. And that's what we've got to look at in terms of fuel saving. It's not just a case of, oh, I can short shift and save a ton of fuel. You have to look at the performance. And now we've separated these boards out. We can see that more clearly. It's not even in the top 10. not even in the top 10, which is huge in my opinion. You can see the Aston Martin DBR9. We know that's a good car in terms of fuel saving. 60 it saved there, and a 24.9. But look at this. It's just not there, is it really? 58 on the fuel level and second to last, really. I mean, the Audi behind it saves a lot more fuel and loses very little time in comparison. So, yeah, not the greatest. We go to a quarter shift now, and there's no Aston Martin on that leaderboard at all. So we are going to have to wait to go to the next board. But you can see there, the performance loss for some of these cars. Some cars will go up because they don't lose performance as they short shift. And that's the whole idea of what we're trying to show. And you can see they're down in P14. Actually, ridiculously bad at saving fuel, this car. Ridiculously bad at saving fuel. As we're then going to go to the next one there. I can't believe how bad it is at saving fuel, really, compared to its cars around it. On the fuel map 3 and a quarter shift then. Again, nowhere to be seen, as we're then going to go to the next section here on the leaderboard. And you can see it's just not good at saving fuel at all, really, here. I mean, arguably, it does save enough, but the performance there, it's lost completely compared to other cars. So, not the greatest, in my opinion. Not the greatest at all. That's it for the fuel test. We've got to do a tyre test, which this time, as you are very well aware, we do 2 tyre tests. So this first one, of course, is all about showing, with no human input, essentially, just going flat out, what does the weight do to the tyres in terms of the car? Because we do know weight has a factor in Gran Turismo. Less of a factor now, but it still does have a factor, as we're then going to fast forward. And what we're looking for here is when the first tyre actually gives up, essentially. And it's normally the rear right here at the oval, but it's just flat out, keeping it on the inside. We've seen in other cars well above 170. We're still 175, I think, is the height I've seen. Maybe 176 even. Here, we're 10 miles an hour. Went down to 9 miles an hour down there as we keep going forward here as we get ready for that tyre to end its life, essentially. And what we do is we add up all the time. So lap 1, the out lap, we add that to lap 2, which is a 53.657. And we're just getting towards the end now as we get... So wait for that white bit to go. There we go. It's just gone. So we had lap 1, lap 2, and this lap where we're up to right now. So that 24.642 gets added to the others. We combine that to get a total time. So that's how long the tyre lasted without human input, essentially. Just the weight having a factor on the car. And then what we do is we go to this tyre test, which is Sardinia Layout C in reverse. Because of that daily race the other day, turned out to be quite a good one to test. And what we're going to do is advance towards lap 5, which is where the first tyre is going to run out here, the front left-hand side tyre. Getting very low now as we go up here. It seems to end around the same time as all the other cars, so we'll see exactly what that does mean in terms of total time. Again, we do the same thing here. We add up all the laps together, and that gives us a nice total time that we can then use to put on the leaderboard and see how long those tyres last. That's the whole idea here. We do have human input on this one, though, so braking can impact, obviously, the amount of tyre wear. The amount you turn the wheel, etc., if the front tyre starts scrubbing. So this is why it's more varied and can cause, you know, if it on a leaderboard, it can change, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. So in the oval test, it came third there. So without human intervention, just going flat out, just the weight there. So the tyre-wise, it does last fairly decent there. You know, it is quite lightweight, I think, in the grand scheme of it, this car. I could be wrong with that statement, but I think it is light compared to a lot of the other cars. I do need to actually get the BOP on here, I think, just to show you the horsepower and weight, and that will give us that information. So that's an update I'll do in the future. On the circuit, we've not done all the cars yet. It's actually P4 there, so it does struggle a little bit, actually, in terms of those front tyres scrubbing. Very good handling car, but those front tyres do get worn down quite quickly, which is interesting, which does suggest that downforce does have an impact. Overall, in terms of track times, though, it's P4. Not too bad there, the Vantage. Quite a strong car in the grand scheme, but we've done 15 cars. Coming home in P4. Very strong performance. It's sort of the leader of the mid-pack there. We've obviously got the Meta cars at the top, leader of the mid-pack, and you can see it's a teammate there down in P15. So I talked about some of the updates I might do there, trying to put the BOP on there, because the BOP is the same across all the circuits at the moment, which is really, really, really bizarre. But I will try and get that on the leaderboard in the future. If you have any suggestions that you want to see in this video, do let me know in the comments. And also, what car profile you want to see next. Obviously, there's 15 there that you have seen. Which car would you like to see next? Let me know in the comments. I'll add it to the votes for Beat the Meta, because remember, we do a Beat the Meta first. Now, if you did like this video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content. But unfortunately, in terms of this car profile, the video is over. I know, it's upsetting, but don't you worry. Look, there's another car profile there that you can check out. Or would you like to watch the Beat the Meta that this Aston Martin was involved in? Well, you can check out that video on the right-hand side. That's it for me. Once again, folks, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.